All right, that was the easy part. Now we need to bring in our Excel data and make sure it's in the proper configuration for Arcmap to actually read it. And so if we look again back at the place where we've downloaded our data, inside here we've got total station and Garmin data. And I am going to open up just this one, which I believe is associated with the total station. And we'll just take a look at what that looks like. So let me sort of get it in the right size so you guys can see this. So there's some information here which is fantastic. The date that the data were collected, the equipment used, the location, and so on, the group members and zone 5. Awesome. All this great information, including where the total station was in the occupied location. And then we've got information about, I guess this is for the 30-meter flag data, and the northing, easting, and the elevation associated with these guys. Okay, Arcmap is not smart enough to deal with data and all this extraneous information up here. So what Arcmap only really likes is just the data itself with these headers. It doesn't like any background information. It'll get confused. So what we need to do is we need to just copy the data and format it. And so if it's like this, actually it's perfectly fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. I'm going to create a new sheet, and I'm going to paste it up here in the corner. It's going to look something like this. Arcmap also sometimes doesn't like spaces in the names, so you can replace those with underscores. And then I'll get rid of this elevation z in meters. I'll just call it elevation. Okay, and so now we've got some information here, and we'll see if this will work to be brought. And I'm going to call this TS 30-meter flag data. So this is the name of the sheet that we're actually going to be accessing. I'm going to save this. I'm going to close it, and then I'm going to minimize this guy, and then all right, this is where it gets exciting. So in Arcmap, I'm going to add data, but I'm going to do it in a different way than I had before. I'm going to go here to File, Add Data, Add XY Data. And now I'm going to browse to where that data might be located. So we were working in the total station Garmin data. This first one, data set, and what's going on here? So it's hung up. Let me, oh, no, we were working in the 30-meter. I believe we were working in the 30-meter. Yep. And I created this new sheet, the TS 30-meter flag data. So I want to add that. And now I need to tell it what these different columns correspond to in my Excel spreadsheet. The first column in the spreadsheet was called point number, but that's not what the X or the easting. So in this case, X stands for easting, Y stands for northing, and Z stands for elevation, even though we're not going to really be using the elevation for this. So I need to tell it that I actually want the X to correspond to the easting and the Y to correspond to the northing. It's now saying, okay, what is the projection system that you want to use? It actually is already brought in from the UAV imagery that we're working in UTM Zone 5 North, and so that's all okay. You can just leave that alone. Then you can say okay. It'll give you this little warning. You just say, go ahead and say okay. And interesting. So it is brought in. I'm going to zoom in. It is brought in our data, our total station 30-meter flag data, as these dots. And if I zoom way in here, you can see that it actually matches beautifully on the UAV imagery, where these other ones are offset a little bit. And that's because the total station data were actually used to georeference the UAV imagery. So they should match up nice and beautiful. I've brought these data in directly from the Excel spreadsheet, which is slightly dangerous because there's limited functionality working with Excel data in the Arcmap environment. It's a little bit more stable if we, instead of working directly off the Excel spreadsheet, we instead save that file in the Arcmap shapefile format. And so to do that, you just right-click on the name, and then you could go down to Data and Export Data. And so I'm going to do that. I'm going to navigate to where I want this to be saved. And so you got to navigate to wherever you're interested in. So for me, it's under, and you'll have a different file structure. Mine is teaching and 385 and 217 and the GPS lab data. And so I'm going to call this TS for total station 30M flag. And then I'm going to save it. And it just gave me an error. Oh, it's because I want to do it as a shapefile. I want to do it as a shapefile. And then I say save. And I say OK. It says, do you want to add this? And I say, yes, I want to add it. And so now this I can mess with, and it's probably, hopefully not going to crash. This one direct from the spreadsheet, if I messed with it, might make the computer crash. So I'm actually going to remove that guy. But now I've got my 30-meter total station flag data in here. I'm going to make it look like this. And I'm looking good. So that is how you bring in the Excel spreadsheet data. You have to manipulate it. You have to alter it so that it doesn't have any extraneous header information, right? So this one you'd have to mess with. You'd have to get rid of these little subheadings and things here, because this would totally screw it up. So it needs to be just simple and just the data you care about that the computer can deal with. And that's the trick for bringing in Excel spreadsheet data.